Welcome to the Life Makeovers podcast. My name is Cindy D. Whitmer, and I am the Midlife Makeover Coach, helping you turn your midlife into your best life, one step at a time. Through powerful conversations, my own midlife roller coaster story, and over 3 decades of helping people transform their lives through counseling and coaching, I am on a mission to help you create your own definition of success and happiness. Thank you for being here. Hey, everybody. Good morning. So glad you're here with me. And I wanted to share a feel good story for you. Don't we love a feel good story? How about we start the week off with a feel good story? So, I recently traveled to Texas to visit my grandchildren and my daughter-in-law and some other family and other friends, and did some work as well. I had a work meeting while I was there. But anyway, just a very full, wonderful week. So hello, Texas. Great to see you all there. And but I want to tell you about when I arrived. So I was not going to rent a car. And right after I got off the plane, I was to go meet a colleague at a restaurant a few miles away. So I was just going to Uber, right? So get an Uber. So we arrive, I get down, I get my bag, everything's cool. I go to information and ask the gentleman who was, he looked like a cowboy. It was great. He had a big old cowboy hat, a cool jacket, super kind gentleman. And I said, hey, if I get an Uber, which door do I go out, or how do I, hook up with my Uber driver? And he said, well, go to zone 1 and it's out here, and explained to me, go out that door and blah, blah, blah. So I'm like, okay, great. So I left the information booth, started setting up an Uber driver. And it said the Uber driver would not arrive for 45 minutes and it would cost $54 to go 5 miles. And I was like, hold on, wait a second. So I didn't accept that. I didn't complete that transaction. I stopped. I went back over to the information booth, and a woman was standing there talking to the gentleman in the information booth. And she was asking about ground transportation options and, are there buses, and, what about taxis? What about lifts? What all is available? Shuttles to the hotel, things like that. And he's giving her information. And I heard her mention Uber, and I said, well, hey, listen, I don't know if this applies to you, but I just tried to get an Uber ride and said it would take 45 minutes to get here, and it costs $54 where I'm going. And she was like, well, do you want to share one? And I'm like, gosh, that'd be great. And then the gentleman knew where she was going, and it wasn't too far beyond where I was going. So we thought, okay, yeah, this will work, but she didn't have her bag yet. Now, she's like, and let me check Lyft. And I'm like, oh, okay. So, because I said $54 just seems a little much. And I didn't know for sure, but because I don't get Ubers that often. And we were in San Antonio. And anyway, so she gets her bag and she checks Lyft, and it says the Lyft driver will be there in 3 minutes or something. And the ride would be $21. And I'm like, oh my gosh, that's so much better. And she said, do you want to share it? And I'm like, gosh, if you don't mind, that would be great. So here is this woman. I don't know her. Her name is Kathy. Nice gal. Don't know her from anywhere. And she doesn't know me, but we've decided we're going to share this Lyft, right? So she got her bag. We went outside. We went to our zone to hook up with the Lyft driver. And just right on time, here he comes. Nice guy. I can't remember his first name anymore. I can see him like he's standing in front of me, but I sincerely cannot remember this gentleman's name anymore. I think it was Jerry, or maybe it was Terry. No, take your pick. Anyway, So he's super nice. And we're like, hey, we have, 2 stops. Is that okay? How does that affect things? Whatever, blah, blah. And he's like, oh, that's probably no problem. And I'm like, okay. And he puts our bags in the car. We get in the car and he goes to pull out of the zone, the part, the loading zone. And our trip disappears off his phone. So he immediately pulls back into like another loading zone. And he says, oh my gosh, your trip just disappeared off my phone. And we're like, oh, well, we can put our GPSs on the phone and you still get there. And he goes, well, that's not the problem. He's like, I know where you're both going. I know how to get there. And we're like, oh yeah, right. Of course, sorry. And he's like, but I have to have record of this, trip for Lyft and so forth. And we're like, oh, geez. Okay. And so Kathy's like, well, can I rebook it and get you? And he's like, well, you can rebook it, and he said, maybe you'll get me since I'm right here at your pickup spot, but maybe not. And so she tried to rebook it, didn't get him, got another driver. And she's like, well, I mean, we could take this other driver. And I'm like, well, Jerry, if she wants to take the other driver, if you'll take me, I'll just pay you the whole thing because I need to get going. Like I wanted to get to my meeting on time and time was ticking away here. And he's like, why don't I just take you to your destinations? We won't worry about this. I'll just take you, even though we don't have record of it. And we're like, oh, that is so great. So she didn't take the other, Lyft request. She canceled that. And we said, okay, great. Well, we remember the rate was $21.96. We will pay you. So he's driving us first to my location. He's going to take her to hers couple miles further. And I'm like, okay, Jerry, can I give you half of it in cash? Or Kathy, do you want to pay it in full and me give you the cash? How do we want to do this? And she's like, oh, you don't have to pay me, Cindy, because my business is paying for this whole ride because I'm here for a trade show. And I'm like, well, I'm also headed to a business meeting. So my business can pay for the ride or half the ride or whatever we want to work out. And he's like, you know what, you two, you had to wait. And it's not your fault that your trip disappeared off my phone. He's like, I don't know what's going on with technology. You never know. He's like, I'll just take you for free and you don't have to pay me at all. And I'm like, well, I would be so happy to pay you. And she's like, I would be happy to pay you. And Cindy, you don't have to pay. And I'm like, but I'll have it. So anyway. So, we did not pay for that trip. We didn't pay for that Lyft. He wouldn't take a dime. I tried to give Kathy some money too, and she wouldn't take a dime. It was like I said to them in the car, I said, we're the 3 nicest people in San Antonio right at this moment because we're all trying to give each other, something in this shared experience. And, it was such a feel-good story because we were all strangers to each other. We all treated each other with kindness and more, lots of respect, lots of patience, lots of understanding, and we had a great time doing it. And I got to my meeting on time, which felt really, really good. I was really grateful because that first Uber I had ordered, actually, the Uber driver wasn't even going to arrive until I was due to the meeting, let alone get me to it. And so I was grateful. I mean, I was just grateful for the whole thing. And you see how this simple thing, this simple little interaction, how all the little events that had to play out for this to all be carried out this way is really, I call them little beautiful miracles in life. And I look for them all the time. And I want you to start looking for them too, because, if you can look at life this way and catch all the cool things that happen, the synchronicities, And if you can see the kindnesses out in the world that are happening all the time, despite what you're hearing on the news, despite what, the gossip is, despite all that, whatever, you'll feel better. Life will look better to you, I promise. And, there isn't any reason at all that you need to be miserable. I know midlife can be hard at times. I mean, I've been down in the depths of my own despair in midlife. And now I live on the other side of all of that. And I truly embrace life, love life, and really am living my dreams. And that's exactly what I want for you. And that is exactly why I do this podcast and why I have coaching programs. And I'm determined to build your confidence, to help you recognize your worth, and really create the life you absolutely want. So, and sometimes the best thing that can happen in life is just these little miracles and these acts of kindness that just lift the whole world up. So I hope this story brings a smile to your face this morning and makes your day better as you go on. And I will talk to you again soon. Bye-bye. Thank you so much for listening to the Life Makeovers podcast. If you'd like to connect with me on social media, find out more about my coaching programs, or download my free ebook, The Midlife Makeover Method, The Secret to Loving Yourself Fully and Living on Your Terms, then head over to my website at www.cindydwhitmer.com. Have a wonderful day.